Now, as Israel strikes the Syrian territory for the third consecutive day, how are Israel's actions in Syria exploiting the current instability to actually occupy more land and create a new reality on the ground?
Good evening to you and to your listeners, and thank you for inviting me. We condemn all the strikes and all the invasions that Israel is doing to Lebanon and also to Syria to weaken more and more the Syrian resources. We also salute the Syrian people for freeing their countries from the atrocity and from the dictator that has ruled Syria for over 50 years. Israel has no right anymore to bombard or strike Syria for any reason because the people are freed and they don't pose any threat to any border, at least not just yet. So this is called a pure invasion and a pure bombardment of peaceful people who are trying to put their act together so that they can establish a new government that is just for all its people.
So, how do you perceive statements by the UN Special Envoy for Syria, Geir Pedersen, saying that the country is currently at a crossroads, presenting both significant opportunities and serious risks that need careful consideration? This is exactly what he said. So, how do you read his statements?
There is no doubt that this is an opportune time for all the Syrian people, and they all realize this. But at the same time, there are so many challenges facing them. The country has been left unattended for. It's been really left in ruins. The dictator has controlled this country and has dealt with this country as its own company. So there is a lot to cater for, a lot to rebuild. Of course, there are challenges and there are risks when there are huge challenges like the ones that the Syrian people are going to face. We love what they have doing so far, and we really hope that they can, despite all these challenges, succeed to build a country, a sovereign country that takes care of all its people in a just and an equitable way.
But after the UN Security Council held an emergency meeting on Syria, what role do you think the international community will play in responding to Israel's aggression against Syria?
We hope that the international community can start putting, stops at the Israeli invasions that have been done since the ceasefire agreement has been called and since the freeing of the Syrian territories have been done. There is no reason for Israel to continue bombarding and to continue invading and occupying and killing more people and destroying more infrastructure. We hope that the international community realizes this and start calling on Israel to stop its invasions and its massacres on the two countries. And at the same time, we hope that the new government of Syria would really look at the sovereignty of its own territory, and the new government and hopefully our government in Lebanon would look for the sovereignty of our own country. And we look forward to having and to live side by side between, Lebanon and Syria, to live side by side, each one of them respecting the borders and the sovereignty of each other.
But after Israel's recent seizure of the buffer zone with Syria, do you think Israel has violated the disengagement agreement with Syria, especially given that the UN envoy claimed as such in the Security Council meeting?
Absolutely. Israel is not saving any time to invade and occupy territories from Syria and Lebanon. And all of these occupations are violations of the UN resolutions and all the agreements that have been done between the countries. Syria and Israel from one side and Lebanon and Israel from the other side. Israel is acting with complete arrogance and this must stop, and this cannot be stopped by Israel, by Lebanon, or by Syria, since they have so many challenges that they are facing. They have beaten up so badly by the internal establishments, the internal dictators, and now beaten up as well by Israel. So we call on the international community to help Lebanon from one side and Israel from the other side to gain their sovereignty, to gain their territories back, and to re-establish a new government that is able to rule in an equitable way under the rule of law, in order for us to regain also the territories that Israel is controlling and invading, and at the same time occupying on the borders between Syria and Israel and Lebanon and Israel.
How might internal Syrian factions respond to Israel's military presence in the buffer zone?
I think it's very difficult for them now to start a war between Syria and Israel. I'm assuming that they need to really clean up the internal governance, and they have been acting very fast on this. And I really wish them the best, wish them all, and we give them and we support them with all the strength we have. And we want them to really build up a new government or make the transition very peacefully and smoothly, so that they can start preparing for a new government. And hopefully this doesn't take time, so that they can also claim their control over the whole territory.
Considering the recent developments, Dr. Najat, what role does Hayat Tahrir al-Sham play in the current conflict dynamics in Syria and in the advancement of Israeli attacks on the Syrian capital, Damascus?
Hayat Tahrir al-Sham has been, it's a movement that has emanated from the local people. They really need a transition period and an induction period also, in order for them to be able to face the invasion and the atrocity of a country like Israel. So we do hope that with the, they do a collective work. All the people, all the movements on the ground, they collectively work together in order to strengthen their grip on the ground, so that they are able to face the challenges and the war with Israel. It's not easy. It's not easy because it's a movement that doesn't have all what it needs to face a big war challenge. So that's why we would like and we want to support them from all our heart, to collectively work together, to really believe on the in the power of people, in the power of really, structuring their actions, structuring their movement ahead, really organizing themselves so that they become a good government for everyone, and also a government able to face Israel.
So, stability in Syria, is it achievable without international consensus, in your own opinion?
It might need, like I said, all of these movements that have emanated from the ground up are not really well organized, probably not yet. That's why they would need some international support. But this international support should not be on the expense of the sovereignty of Syria. It should be only for the Syrian people who have endured a lot from the dictator, to really put their act together, to really are able to organize themselves so that they can take on the internal matters of the country, and then face the external challenges like the invasion of Israel. Again, the international community, we do hope that they are able and they are willing to really help this bottom-up approach and ground movement of the Syrian people, so that they are able to start functioning as a government.
So, can different factions in Syria work together to maintain the future stability of Syria and its institutions?
Look, I think they are many factions, like you're saying. They have no choice but to really work together. I think they have endured a lot by the divisions that they have lived through over 40 years and 50 years of dictatorship. I hope they all realize that they need each other in order for them to build a strong government. And really, we wish them so well. At the same time, and I'm making this parallelism between Syria and Lebanon because we too have lived the atrocity and have really endured from the dictatorship of Syria and from the interference that this dictator has done into Lebanon. We really do hope that we also put our act together, really delineate the border between us and the Syrians, and each one of us, Lebanon on one hand and Syria on the other hand, look internally to strengthen their government and live next to each other as two countries, really respecting each other's borders and respecting each other's sovereignty. This is extremely important. We want to live in a peaceful country. They want to live in a peaceful country, and I think interferences from their dictator to our government is long gone, and I hope it doesn't return back.